Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Survivor 44 Stockwatch podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to talk through the premiere of Survivor 44. We'll talk about what we saw in the episode. We'll go over each player and how we think they did in the game. We'll even give them a nifty little number rating for your records, because you know, records are kept and all that. With me to talk through the premiere of Survivor 44 is Claire. How you doing, Claire?
Yay! Hi, Taran. I'm very excited to be here talking through the premiere. What a premiere it was. I think this was last season. I kind of fell off the Survivor train for a little bit. But this episode, I'm back in it 100%. Survivor's back, baby.
Yes, Claire. Now, I believe since the last time you were on the Stockwatch podcast, you are now officially an Amazing Race winner.
Yes. I think the last time I was on Stockwatch was actually maybe like 2 weeks before we flew out for the Amazing Race. It was my last official podcast before going out and, finally winning something. So Amazing Race, Survivor, a little bit different, but I'm coming in here with the eyes and number rankings of a winner.
Well, how we love statistics here. How's this for a statistic? Every person that has been on the Stockwatch podcast that has then gone on the Amazing Race has won the Amazing Race.
Now that is a statistic. I'm just saying, maybe you should include that when you, reach out to people and be like, hey, want to come on?
Yeah.
These are good numbers.
Good numbers. All right. Well, we got a premiere to talk about here, Survivor 44. It started very interesting start. Jeff let us know that we're going to be introduced to quite the season this season.
Hi, we're going to birth you into this game right now.
Nothing like a good birthing to kick off a season. I think that's always what a good one starts with.
Yeah, I mean, I look, whenever I think about starting a new season, I think about being birthed.
Yeah, it's I think there were a lot of people, crawling through tunnels. I don't know if there's the little birthing metaphor we can go on with further. There was definitely pain in this first challenge. It was a birthing. It was a birthing.
Quite the birthing. A weird little sort of fourth wall breaking almost with the Carolyn interview right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated it. I thought it was fun. Introducing this character and Carolyn, and also kind of giving the sort of new perspective on these interviews sometimes. I like that they're trying things.
Yeah, I think every one of this new era has had interesting editing, and I really enjoyed a guest star. Don't mind the other half of the Amazing Race winner team popping in briefly. But I did.
Derek had also made an appearance on the previous Stockwatch podcast, which is why he also happened to win the Amazing Race. Clearly,
true.
That is true. That is honest. I thank you, Taran. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
This one's not also going to go to 2 a.m., right?
You never know. I mean, we got another 14 hours.
Well, that's true. It was a long episode. It was an hour and a half.
Oh God. All right. Well, I'm leaving.
Bye. He does not respect the sanctity of a podcast space, but that's okay. He hasn't been on a Stockwatch. He doesn't know.
The last one was the one where I was eat dinner, right?
Yeah. Okay. I should have headphones in, alas. Okay, but all these seasons are doing interesting things with the editing. And I feel like this one, it was really all about the slow-mo. I liked the Carolyn intro. I liked hearing the producer. I've now been on the side of getting asked the questions a couple times with Big Brother and the Amazing Race. And it is a very weird experience. And I'm sure Carolyn No, she's a character. I really enjoy her, and I can really empathize with like, oh, we're doing it. Like, oh, you're gonna use this. Like, very fun. It is like the nice fourth wall break, especially after 44 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we of course, we go through the episode. Jeff does his thing where he pretends to not know these people that he was probably very involved in choosing to be on the show. And then we get this whole Bruce situation right out of the gate. Challenge. It's really like so heartbreaking. The very first like thing he did in the very first challenge just immediately busts his head open. And I was watching this and I was like in my rational brain, I was thinking, you just hit your head really hard, dude. Don't finish. Just like immediately call for the medic. This is no good. In my realistic brain, I was like, this is exactly what I would do in this situation is that I would be like, nah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm about to pass out, but I'm still, nope. I'm gonna get, oh, wait, did I just wake up on the ground?
Oh, no. Of course. Like, it's bad, but you're out there. I'm sure his adrenaline is pumping. Like, I think now we've found out he got a concussion. But you're just such in the mindset of compete. I want to go. It's brutal. It was literally like the very first thing he does out there. And the editors, I'll say, did him dirty with this. With you see the collision, they slow-mo, blood dripping down, and then he just takes his hand and he goes, and I'm like, oh, now it's just infected too. This is, it's so bad. And then the blood's mixing with the mud. Not a good day if you are not good with blood.
Yeah, I honestly at first I thought it was paint or something. I thought it could have been paint. It just had like a weird like consistency and color to it. I was like, is that, please tell me that's paint and not blood like careening from his face.
Yeah, it's what they did, and I don't remember what season Highs was, where they had like the fake blood they're rubbing.
But no, not the case. Bruce has a bit of an issue here. Very scary stuff, but it seems like he's okay. It seems like this could have just been a big rush of adrenaline. That is certainly something that again would happen to me too. Like even if it wasn't my head, if I busted my elbow and blood was gushing from it, I'd probably on an island, I'd probably pass out just from the adrenaline rush alone. But it seems like he's okay. It seems like, okay, just a little scare. But of course, later in the episode, we don't even really get a chance to know Bruce all that much because the next time we see him we're just hearing about how it's coming back. It seems like they were monitoring him on the beach and things are taking a turn for the worse and he has to be removed.
Well, he was concussed, for the whole episode. It's not like he was probably giving like some witty banter that we missed. I'm sure he's just like, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know when to tell him. Like, this isn't good. Like,
yeah, yep. It's unfortunate. Well, what's funny is that when I was streaming watching this episode, I was like, all right, they should make a rule. If you get medevaced in the first episode, you get an automatic ask back. And then come to find out on the official Survivor podcast that Jeff has in fact given Bruce an invite to come back.
Taran, you're telling me I'm on the unofficial podcast. So
you're on the unofficial. We're
official.
2 levels down because
how many tiers?
If Rob is the unofficial Survivor podcast, this is the like unauthorized unofficial Survivor podcast.
Yeah, that's the one I want to be on, the like rebellious one,
Oh yeah, we're deep down in these Survivor streets.
Oh, this is a deep cut,
Yeah.
I will say I did see that, and I will be pulling a Lauren and will be banking my vote for what number I think he should get. And I will not reveal any number for Bruce until he's back, because I do think he's coming back. So I think this is a good banked vote to pull back in future stock watches.
My thought was Asia drafted Bruce in the Survivor draft. Does she? I feel like she should get an automatic Bruce on
Yeah.
any future season that he's on. Just gets Bruce automatically.
Bruce goes on to become the next Rob Mariano and just is playing for 7 seasons and is really the best draft pick ever. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So that was unfortunately Bruce's journey here, but kind of a happy ending. Ultimately, he will be coming back at some point. Good to know. They get through the first challenge. The results ultimately don't really matter because everybody's going to get their supplies, and it's all going to be fine. The real result is that it's going to change. They're changing up. This new era has been introducing a bunch of new concepts and then making small tweaks to them every time. The newest small tweak is that the 2 losing tribes have to complete the sweat or savvy challenge in order to get their, basic startup supplies. And the tribe that came in second place will choose which of sweat or savvy they want to compete in. The other tribe, the losing tribe, will have to complete the other challenge between sweat and savvy. I felt like this was a trap. This was a trick. The pick between. I felt like they really made it seem like, hey, here's the gimme, the sweat. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, but you guarantee it. Here's the mysterious puzzle that you only have 15 minutes to complete and only one guess. I feel like they were entrapping the second place team to be like, oh, let's take the gimme. We don't want to take a risk. But then the puzzle was super easy and the sweat was actually super difficult.
I think this is right, because when I was looking at it, I was like, obviously I would do a puzzle. That's always what my inclination would be. But like, I would know I would not be doing the sweat. Like, someone else is doing it. And when I looked at it, I was like, it's only coconuts. Like, I've never felt a coconut. These people just got to the beach. I don't think they've felt a coconut before. I was like, it's probably not that heavy. Like, I've held one maybe on vacation. Like, I think, like, I was watching, I was like, I could do it. Like, that's not a big deal at all. But this seemed way harder even than the other sweats that we've seen. So yeah, I definitely do feel like it was a trap, but also I don't know if who was it? Ratu? Is that how you pronounce it? The Orange Tribe would ever have picked Savvy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that tribe was always going to pick sweat regardless. Or granted, they wouldn't have had the option if they were last. Yeah. But yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that what we've seen so far is that the savvy puzzles, quizzes, whatever they are, they've all been pretty easy. It's not too hard.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other thing is they want you to be able to play along from home is what I would guess. And I don't think and it has to be some sort of visual puzzle. I mean, I guess that's what we saw last time. Anything like that, like 15 minutes seems like a short time, but it's actually pretty long if you're just sitting and working on it. I found it very fascinating that they switched it up and made it so with the savvy, you only have 2 people working on it now instead of the whole tribe. But also, it's only 15 minutes. So it doesn't really matter that you're being isolated just for the 15 minutes. But
exactly. Yeah, I think that if you have the ability to do a whole tribe thing with savvy, you do it that way. There's no individual faults. It's probably going to be easy anyway. And then even if it is just like grab 2 of you to try and do this, and if you fail, you lose. But it's only 15 minutes. Then in 15 minutes, you can be like, if you get it wrong, you'd be like, oh, that was like the hardest puzzle ever. We totally screwed up. I was so sorry. I don't think people are going to be like, oh, you're a liability to our tribe because you failed to complete a puzzle. And you've only missed out on 15 minutes of intro talk.
And you only have to wait 3 days to get your supplies.
Yeah.
It's not really that big of a punishment.
Yeah. Sweat, on the other hand, it's a great opportunity to bond with one person for hours, but you are missing out on the rest of the tribe talking. Now, it comes with like this built-in sort of guarantee that, if you are the people, if you are one of the people doing sweat, you're probably like one of the stronger people on the tribe, which already gives you an advantage when it comes to making relationships early on and staying safe early on. But it does come with like a potential downside of like, if you get paired up with somebody that you don't really want to work with, isn't super trustworthy, maybe comes back to the tribe and like rubs people the wrong way. Now you're sort of attached to them in some way. There's more risk involved there, especially because, again, you're not like making those bonds yourself with the tribe. So I do think that sweat is not necessarily the best choice in terms of strategy if you have the ability to choose.
Now, let me ask you this, Taran. Also, this is a pen. I'm seeing people comment, and I like the drama of it. Let me ask you this. I've seen people online be like, obviously, Tika was going to be bad at the strength one, and therefore, the orange tribe should have made the purple tribe do sweat no matter what. And just like spite the other tribe, basically. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like that personally. I think that you got to, first of all, play your own game. Don't focus on what other people are doing too much in terms of tribes like that. Second, it's not a very good like relationship building tactic to operate out of spite, to be like, okay, we really, because it does, at the end of the day, this was not a zero-sum game. Both tribes could get their supplies. The other tribe getting their supplies has no impact on you getting your supplies. It's only a detriment to them. And maybe you could say like, okay, well, we'd have a small advantage maybe at the next immunity because they will have no supplies. But really, realistically, I would love to see the statistics on this. I feel like rewards often have very little actual impact on challenge performance, and supplies same. I don't think there's much of a benefit. And, for all you might be spiting yourself by choosing one that you're not suited for. And if there comes a swap or a merge and the other tribe feels like they clearly are suited to sweat and they chose savvy just to spite us, like they're going to be less likely to like feel good feelings toward you and anybody on your tribe. It was the same sort of thing that I felt personally with how Cody operated last season when he went to the tribe to like take their stuff and was like, I'm going to get as much as possible because that is like the goal of me being here, instead of like focusing on building relationships while he was over there. Like, just be nice to the other tribes. You're going to be playing with these people sooner or later.
Yeah, like there's a temptation to go on and be villainous, lie, cheat, steal right away because you're playing the game. But it's a long game. It's only 25 days, but it's still a long game. A lot of developing relationships. I agree with you, Taran, but just want to hear you say it. You put it so nicely.
All right. So they both get their supplies. We're going to learn a little bit about some of the players on these tribes. Let's see. We have the Soka tribe. Soka. They are the green tribe, I believe. And I can pull up the pictures here. I've put together a little graphic with pictures and names. So
this is a man who knows graphic design.
So just straight up
graphic
grid
design is my passion.
The top tribe here is Ratu. The middle tribe is Tika, and the bottom tribe is Soka. They are organized via tribe here. So first we have Claire on Soka. She is I feel like we didn't get a ton from her in the episode. We did get a secret scene with Claire that showed some interesting things. We'll probably talk about that when we get to rating the players. But I think the main storyline here for the Soka tribe is that we saw Franny and Matt pairing up, that they seem to have connected, and even got a little bit of a hint, perhaps, that there might be a little bit of a showmance potentially blooming between the two. Matt does open up saying that he is coming out of a relationship heading into this season, and him and Franny really seem to have a good bond. Now, when I was watching the episode, I actually was like immediately concerned for them by this, because they immediately just seemed like two peas in a pod. Like very similar mannerisms, like they were going off together, like, oh, like we're so great, we really like each other. And that's good. It's great to have an ally, a really strong ally. My concern was on a 6-person tribe, it's good to be like, yeah, I've got this person. In my opinion, it's bad to be like, we're two peas in a pod, because 2 is not enough in a 6-person tribe. You need at least 1 more, hopefully 2. But if people see on such a small tribe that you two are inseparable and they're not going to be able to be, an equal member of an alliance with the 2 of you, then they're probably going to be like, let's break these 2 up. It almost becomes like a super target. And it could be bad if that's how they come off. Now, obviously, we know very little about this tribe and the dynamic so far, but I was personally a little concerned.
I was also concerned. I don't know what it is with people in these shows trying to get into a little showmance. We don't know.
Yeah, what's up with
And
that? Who does
especially,
that?
who does that? Okay, wait until you're in jury. Damn it, give it some time. But you're out on this island. I feel like everyone's gonna get smelly real quick. But I know that it's tempting to like have a person feel like you're tight. I won't lie. I think it will reflect in my scores. I'm more nervous about Matt than I am with Franny here. I feel like Matt is very excited to have this person, and Franny, at least in confessionals, was like, yeah, like I feel like we're very similar. I think it'll be good. And Matt's like, I think there's a connection, like da da da. But it makes me nervous, and I feel like the Soka tribe is the tribe that we saw the least. Like I couldn't tell you much about most of these people. But I do think potentially it might be okay for a while, and then once you hit merge, you might be a little bit more in danger there. But yeah, I don't know what it is with these people, especially in past seasons. You've seen the showmances, whatever, tight duos getting taken out quick, and especially on such a small tribe, you can't really hide it. The beach isn't that big. The sleeping shelter is not going to be that big. And once you have someone that you feel so tight with, it's very hard to go against your natural inclination of wanting to always be with them. Like I experienced this on Big Brother with Tiffany. Like once you know you can really trust someone, it's so much easier and nicer just to be in their presence than being around people you're like, oh, I don't trust them. Like I have to be nervous. I have to be on eggshells around them. So I do think that this could end up blowing back on them. That said, I feel, I don't know. I think I also personally relate to Franny. I think I see a lot of myself in Franny. And so I'm like, she'll be able to navigate it. Like she'll be fine though. So I am bringing like a little bit of my own biases in this. I could see something here with the girls plus Matt, just based off like who people were standing around. But I'm very interested to see how this develops.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side to it creating a target on you and sort of separating you from the rest of the tribe is that there is a potential big advantage in having a strong ally on a 6-person tribe, which is that unless the other, like, basically it can be a bonding agent for the other 4 to come together and take you out. But if there are any personality conflicts or relationship issues between the other 4 and they're not able to get together and unite as a 4, then you now have a lot of power because now you are a block of 2 and they can't take you out, so they have to come to you to work with you, and that could be a good thing.
But Matt doesn't have his vote for the next 2 tribals.
That's true.
So you're really getting nothing from it.
Yeah.
That
you
is
only need
the downer.
now you only need 3. So like say for instance, Claire and Heidi and Josh get along really well, but you know, Danny's kind of too broy for them. You know, in a normal situation where Matt has a vote, then that Danny situation means they can't take out Matt and Franny. They have to deal with the Danny situation first because Matt and Franny could just grab Danny if they wanted to. So there's like a different kind of situation going on. However, with Matt having lost his vote, Claire, Josh, and Heidi, if they, and this is just, I'm grabbing 3 random names. They could take over the tribe if they wanted to. A group of 3 could easily just control the entire tribe from here on. And that's something worth noting, especially with all these vote losses, that like, it's very important because it's much easier to get a group of 3 than it is to get a group of 4 on a 6-person tribe. And if you're able to take control of a tribe with 3, because somebody's lost a vote, that's huge. And there's a very small chance that you are going to lose more than 3 people on a starting tribe. It doesn't happen that often that you go down to all the way 2 players left, which means that you can basically just ensure your safety for the rest of the pre-swap, you know, section of the game by saying, okay, this person lost a vote. Let's grab 3 people and we're just done. So yeah, vote loss is definitely not ideal.
No,
especially this early.
No. And I don't know if I should save this until we talk about the ship wheel island or whatever we're calling it now. But I'll just bring it up now because we're kind of talking about it. Do we think that every week this will have the same format of losing votes and just everyone losing potentially 2 votes?
I can't imagine it would. I mean, I think the thing is that last season, I think we only did this like 3 times total, right? 3 or 4 maybe. So my guess is that it just won't be every week. Like it'll probably be like every couple of weeks or maybe 2 to start and then a couple of weeks off. And then, you know, it'll probably still be lose a vote most of the time, but my guess is that they just limit the amount of times it actually happens.
Okay. Makes me feel better.
Yeah, because otherwise you have like 3 people losing 2 votes per episode.
Yeah, it's the
run out of
true
votes.
advantage. Yeah, the true advantage would be not going. It's just the people that haven't been that are voting.
All right, so that's kind of the Soka tribe. We are also going to get to know a little bit from the Tika tribe. That's the middle tribe here on the graphic. That's the one with Bruce, Carolyn, Carson, Jam Jam, Sarah, and Helen. They of course are going to lose Bruce. Now, I did see a statistic, or maybe not really a statistic, but I did see somebody say that, and I haven't confirmed this, but somebody said that every 6-person tribe that has had a like an early medevac, one of the players from that tribe has gone on to win.
Interesting.
So
I feel
who knows?
I don't know. I feel like there might be something to that of, You're
It
kind of
bonds them
now
together, I think.
underestimated. You're
Yeah.
bonded together. You're down in numbers. You're not as intimidating at merge. You've experienced loss. Interesting. Something good to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying Carolyn winner confirmed.
Clearly.
Clearly.
I don't know who else you would have thought of on this tribe. Yes, Carolyn, quite the character. Carolyn's going to talk about how nobody seems to want to talk to her, and that concerns her. I thought that was an interesting confessional because you get the sense that Carolyn is this very like over the top character, because of the like her mannerisms, because of like the way that she talks, because she licks her lips while there's mud all over them. But I think that the way that she's talking about the game, I think it's clear that she understands the game and what she should do and what should be happening. It's just that right now she's lacking the tools to be able to do those things, that people aren't coming to her or giving her anything, and she knows that she can't exactly like take what is not given to her. So she's like, what do I do?
Yeah, she's like, I know I need to be going up to people, but I don't want to be that person. But also, like, I know I'm being annoying talking that no one's talking to me. And I think Carolyn is definitely a personality, but I think she's also super self-aware. But like not to the point where I feel like she's faking her personality. Like she's being genuinely herself, which I very much appreciate. And she does know the game. Like hasn't she played like ORGs before? Like she is a fan. I'm sure she like listens to all the podcasts. I'm sure she's like in it really deep. So I think she has a good head on her shoulders, but it's a matter of making it a few weeks and like, okay, let me now get in the rhythm. Like maybe someone comes up and talks to her and it's just like, hey, stop licking your lips. Like we're concerned about it. Yo, you got the dirt mustache. Okay. Like someone needs to help her out a little bit. But I think Carolyn could end up going pretty far.
And so we sort of see, I feel like we sort of saw that like Carson, Sarah, and Helen are kind of bonding a bit. They're kind of the younger people on this tribe. I think there's maybe a little bit of a an age sort of grouping. Granted, Jam Jam's only like 7 years older than Helen, I think. But you know, at 36 versus 29, but you know, between Carson and certainly like Jam it's like 16 years difference. So quite the gap here. We're gonna hear about Carson, how he put on a bunch of weight before he came out, and he's definitely sort of like he's in an interesting position here as a very sort of like nerdy, sort of like shy-ish personality, where he's like, oh, I don't want to let down the team. Like, who would want to date this nerdy guy? But also he's like Superman, like in the glasses. You know what I mean? Like he's put on some muscle. Like this guy's good looking, but like I don't think he feels it yet. So it's kind of like it's an interesting spot to be in, especially like playing Survivor now, so young still. I'm very curious to see how he operates in the game.
Yeah, I always feel like I have never run the statistics here, but I think age is a very good fact. I guess like we've had Marianne win and she's pretty young, but I think it's much, much harder for someone young to win these games. I think there is something, and I didn't think this at like 20 or 21, but there is something real to life experience, confidence, that just comes a little bit with age. And I think Carson is very charming though. I think people will take him under their, wing, like a little brother, like, let me look out for you. And let me kind of protect you in this. But it is also interesting because like I don't know how. I think he isn't used to like his 30 pounds of muscle now he's put on. I don't think he's used to maybe what people will perceive him as, of like the Spider-Man, or he was like, I didn't want to do these puzzles because I didn't want people to know I'm good at puzzles. I'm like, Carson, people are looking at you and they are assuming you are good at puzzles. You will never convince these people that you are not like the puzzle guy out there.
Yeah, if you didn't
Unfortunately,
want to be the puzzle guy, sorry,
get
but
contacts.
you had to do
You need the
contacts.
contacts. Like, or like, and he's just also like very honest. Like he was like, yeah, I put on like 40 pounds in the past 3 months. Like I've been watching forever. Like you're not exactly like lowering your threat level, but I think he is so disarming. I don't think people see until like merge, like, oh, this guy might be a threat.
I think it's the right call to just be himself, because I think that like especially on Big Brother, we've really seen this kind of when I drafted him, I talked about this. Like we've seen this kind of archetype really work, like for the young player particularly. Like I feel like when you're young and you try to be not young, you try to like play with the big boys, and you try to act like you're not young. That's when you typically fail. But if you are able to sort of play into the fact that you are the little brother or little sister, and you are able to kind of like be like, yeah, I'm young and I'm earnest, and maybe I'm telling you too much, but this is just who I am. I feel like that can really work in these games. So I'll be curious to see where they go here, and I'm definitely concerned for Jam Jam and Carolyn at this time with this tribe, this grouping of younger players. Doesn't bode particularly well for them, but they both seem like big characters, so maybe they'll just win a bunch.
Yeah, I do think that Tika, look, I'm wearing green today because I am a Claire fan, as a Claire, but I do think Tika is probably my favorite grouping of like characters that are out there right now that I'm rooting for. And that said, I do have concerns about Sarah, mainly of the three, that I'm hopeful that Carolyn and Jam Jam might be able to wiggle through for a while, and maybe they can just hold off going to tribal.
Well, of course, we also have the top tribe up here, which is the Ratu tribe. And that's the one that we saw go to tribal council. But before that, we saw a bit from them, mostly about Matthew and how he was looking like, look, he's making fire. He's talking about how he's doing really well. And then all of a sudden, he starts climbing up this rock. And Claire, I can't imagine this was great for you.
No, stop going on heights, people. Heights are our enemy. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen to me on The Amazing Race. When I had a tightrope walk, I was like, I'm going to fall down these cliffs. I'm going to, scrape up my foot really bad. I'm going to have to make a makeshift sling and sit out of challenges. What Survivor, you don't have to do anything with heights if you don't want to. Maybe you might have to climb up a ladder, but why are we seeking this out? Oh, Matthew, I don't know. Falling is my biggest fear. I don't know why you would put yourself somewhere where you could fall. It makes me not trust Matthew. I ranked him lower because of it.
Yeah, this was, I think I wish I knew what his goal was. Like, did he think that there was something up there?
I think, that's interesting. I thought it was like he saw the drone filming and he was like, well, I know a good shot. Because I was watching it, I was like, that would kind of be like a cool shot. It's a very Jeff Probst intro shot, standing on a rock. I don't know. I feel like that was in his mind. Maybe he thought there was something up there, but.
Yeah, this was horrifying to watch as he just plummets down. It did not look great. His arm is now in a sling. He hurt his foot. Bad stuff. And it really sort of like it not only put him in a situation where people are looking at him as potentially a challenge liability, but I think they also started looking at him like, this guy's a wild card. Like, what is he doing? Why is he climbing up this rock?
Literally, I think right before he started climbing up the rock, I think it was Kane who was like, I like this guy. And then right after he falls, Kane's like, this guy's a wild card. I can't trust him. I have no idea what he's going to do in this game. And it's like, I definitely think it makes everyone be like, I'm worried. This guy is impulsive. He is going to, be his own worst enemy out here.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. This is another one of those situations. I'm also probably climbing rocks. Like, I'm not like, I can't pretend like I can't sit here in judgment of Matthew. Like, how stupid of you to climb this slippery rock. Because if I was standing on that rock and I saw some places for me to climb up, I might have looked around and been like, I think I'm going to do this.
Well, Taran, I have actually gone rock climbing with you, so I do know this about you. I do think, I think you would have been like doing like the jumps, like you would have been doing like the agile climbing, like, and then people would have been like, Taran's a threat. Taran, call, like,
I'm done right away.
They would have seen me down there, like at the bottom, and I would have been like, what do I do, guys? Guys, tell me where I put my hands. Like, they would know I wasn't a threat.
Oh boy. Well, to hear Maddie tell it in her exit interview, Matthew actually was her target, especially after all of this wild card stuff. And it seems like that could have been where things went for the first tribal, until, of course, the other big thing that happened on this tribe, which is that they are going to go searching for the key to the cage. We got to talk about the cage. Each tribe has a cage with an advantage in the cage, and there is a lock that you have to go and find the key to the cage, and you get the advantage. I like this as a concept. I like that it's out in front of everyone. I talked about this being like, it's like when you're playing Among Us, because somebody could like go off, come back, and then you go and you see, wait a minute, the advantage is gone. Hey, you were the last person to go out. What'd you do? Did you take it? Like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I went to the med bay. I went to the well, not to the cage.
Yeah. 100%. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy also that not only is there an advantage, there's also, what they call it, a pretty medallion, like a fancy medallion that means nothing. And a little bit, I'm like, I enjoy them making their own idols and like seeing what they'll do with it. But I like this added twist. Like, are you going to put that in there? Are you going to just take that and plant it somewhere else? Like that is kind of fun to me. And I liked all the tribes' different reactions to the bird cage. Like, you had the Ratu tribe like see it, and it's just like, let's just keep going. And Lauren's like, wait, are we going to talk about this? And they're like, no, we're not talking about it. And then you had the green tribe, and it was like, oh, let's just go tell everyone. And then you had the purple tribe be like so nervous, and Jam's like, let's go see it. Like, I'm gonna hold it. He's sticking his hand in there. He's like shaking it around. Like, my love for Jam truly cannot be overstated. And I think it just was very telling about all three tribes and like, how did they handle this? And like, the orange tribe with their paranoia and like, oh yeah, but we are going to go and look for the key. Like, they're the only tribe we saw doing that. And the purple tribe, like, being like personalities galore. And the green tribe being like, well, let's analyze this and let's think about it, as a team. It brought me a lot of joy.
Yes. My first thought when I saw the cage is, can I steal the cage?
Oh,
Can I just take the cage and go hide it somewhere? Like first and foremost.
I was like, can I just put a stick through it and like
Right.
shake the bag and like pull it off?
Yeah, because Carolyn talked about like I wanted to find a way to get in there without the key, and I was like, is that allowed? Because that's what I would want to do. I mean, let's just break the cage open. Like,
Oh yeah.
why not? Right? I didn't see any paper. I didn't see anything written.
No,
I was saying it was against the rules.
I'm imagining like the Among Us situation. You go walking off and then come back, and then I go, and the cage is just in shatters, and like the lock is still in place, and I come back, and you just have a huge splinter coming out of your hand, and I'm like, wait a second, like what's happening here?
Yeah, I got a coconut fell on me. That's
Yeah. Now, Taran, I've seen rumors online. I don't know, people hypothesizing that this weird little dragon thing that's on top of the cage might be a chess piece that might go on
yes.
the chessboard, which I honestly am sort of convinced about. To me, I'm like, it's true. That's true.
I have seen some chess theories because of the chessboard. I mean I'm into the idea. I don't think it's real. Mostly because I don't think there's a way to play it on TV in like a simple enough way to be like, okay, so this chessboard there's actually only a couple of legal moves and the best move is actually doing this, so if they actually make this move then they will win an advantage, or you know, or even like you know, taking a piece and being like, well, this looks like a piece that you could use in a chess game, and so if you put it down on the board here, like it just seems like it's probably too complicated, but I like it.
Well, okay. I kind of am like, then why is the chessboard there? But why do we need it? Like, I love it.
Because of every, like the same reason chess is mentioned in any reality show or even just scripted show, just to make it seem like, look, smart.
Like, ooh, they're scheming.
Strategy.
Like,
yeah.
Numbers.
Yes.
Yes.
Calculate. Game theory.
No, that's true. Well, okay, I guess. But then why put it on the cage? I don't know. This is conspiracy corner now. Like,
truly,
why
I mean,
have that weird dragon?
Have these people been talking to Adam Klein?
That's what I'm saying. Has this been done in New Zealand Survivor? I'm not up to date.
Maybe. All right. Well, of course, the only tribe to actually find the key was the Ratu tribe. Brandon is going to find the key while he is searching with Maddie. And he is initially going to hide the fact that he found the key, but he is also going to just stick it right in his pocket as it bulges out of his pocket.
Like, doesn't he know it's in the underwear? You go in the underwear, my man, not just the pocket.
Exactly. There's already a place there that you're expecting to bulge.
There's so many options here. Like, dig a little hole, put it in. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very clear that he's found something, but he wants to hide it from Maddie. So, but he realizes that Maddie has realized that he has the thing. So he pretends to find it like in the middle of nowhere, where like there's no hiding spot for it. And she realizes that he's pretended to find it even though he already had it. And this just continues to get even more awkward as they're like, okay, I guess we'll go show the tribe now. And she's like, is that what you want to do? Or maybe we could not do that? And he's like, why would we not do that though? And it's just like, this is just a very strange way to play this from Brandon, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes. I think almost every decision that Brandon made here was the wrong one. Like, and I do think it is hard, like, if you're with someone, there is something to like letting them know, but you don't know this girl. You don't know anything about her, but okay, you've told her now. And then she's like, do we keep it ourselves? And I feel like he just turned around basically and was like, we found it. Like, and then he was like, I thought it would be a tribe thing. Like, so flabbergasted that this might be like some sort of personal advantage, you know, that this wasn't like a kumbaya, like rice in the bag, like the smallest serving of rice ever out there. Yeah, it it was very comical. But yeah, it was rough. I think everything almost that Brandon did with this idol, even up until like when they're in tribal and talking about the idol, and it was like, is this Brandon's idol? Or is it the tribe's idol? And people were like, oh, it's Brandon's idol. Like, it is not the tribe's idol. Like, I'm like, my man, like, what's going on here? Like, oh, yeah, it was a rough one for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously you should want to keep your idol a secret, because what you want is the ability to decide whether or not you want to share it with people to gain social capital, or maybe even like dissuade people from coming for you because, hey, I have an idol, so don't waste your votes on me, stuff like that. Or even just like, you know, hey, I'm a powerful person in this game, align with me, I can help protect you because I have an idol. Whatever the case may be, there's all kinds of different ways you can play with an idol, but you want to have the choice to make that decision. And you don't want the person that you find it with to feel like you only told them because you found it with them, right? You want to be able to go to them and share it with them if that's the choice that you make, you know, free from any coercion. But if you very clearly get caught, you just have to come clean, right? Like, you just have to be like, listen, Maddie, I found it. I found this thing. I wasn't sure what to do at first. I didn't know if I wanted to tell anybody, but I really want to work with you. So I'm going to share it with you. I found the thing. What do we do about it? Decide with that person. And if she says, hey, I don't want to, let's keep this to ourselves. Great. Keep it to yourself for now. And again, if you decide to then share it with other people later, you can be like, listen, we found it with Maddie. She said I shouldn't tell anybody, but I really want to tell you. Right? Like, there's a bunch of different ways you can play this, but the last thing that you want to do is make it very clear to one person in a 6-person tribe that you do not trust them and do not want to work with them. Because if you are Maddie in this situation, you are doing everything in your power to be like, hey, tell me about this thing that you found. Tell me about this thing that you found. Okay, you finally told me. Okay, let's work together. Let's not tell anybody else. It's just very clear that Brandon is shutting her down at every opportunity. So it should come as no surprise that Maddie then switches her target from Matthew to Brandon, because she's like, this guy's never going to work with me. Like, he very clearly doesn't trust me. This is a huge liability for me in the game. And it's now a huge liability for Brandon. Even if he then later kind of comes to her and apologizes, whatever the case may be, like, there's now this weird, awkward tension between the two of them where you're never going to know for sure that you're going to be able to work together. And so I just feel like this is not the play.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree completely here. And then the real kicker is he then figures out it's the idol and he's like, I shouldn't have told anyone. Like, the story as old as time. Like, I'm telling everyone and then immediately regretting it. Immediately having it come backfire. It'll be a question mark to, does he learn from this, or is this just who he is?
We will have to see. The only other thing really before the immunity and tribal is that we are going to go to Advantage Island and figure out what we are doing with that this season, how it works this season. Same vibe in general. 3 people from 3 different tribes heading to Advantage Island. I thought it was very funny that they all decided to draw straws. And they had very different sort of like reactions and methods for it. Like on the Soka tribe, you had Matt not wanting to go. He draws the straw to go, and he's like, damn it, no, I didn't want this. And, for a kind of decent reason, ultimately, he's going to get really screwed over there. Then on the Tika tribe, you had all of them wanting to go, seemingly. And then Sarah just kind of like drawing, luckily, and she gets to go. And then on the Ratu tribe, Lauren is going to cheat the system. And she I think they drew rocks, right? And so she knew which rock was the one that by feel. She put the rocks in the bag, so she was able to feel out the rock she wanted, take it, and sort of cheat the system and get to go.
Yeah. Great.
Fun
It's
stuff.
great. Yeah, very fun. I love that. That is something that's really nice with 3 tribes. And like, I feel like we saw this with the cage. A lot of things. Every tribe's going to have their own reaction and own characters. And like, I know we don't like love a huge amount of twists, but it's very fun seeing how it shakes out 3 different times.
Mm-hmm. So they go, and the twist this time is that they're gonna, and this was actually meaningful. Choose your path, because the different paths presumably had different advantages that wildly vary in power. Clearly, so we're going to see that Lauren is going to, so then once you get there, you are forced to draw at least once. And there are 3 things to draw from. And you basically have 2 of them are lose a vote. 1 of them is an advantage. You have a 2 in 3 chance of losing your vote with that forced draw. But you are able to draw again if you want, which would turn it into a 50-50 shot if you didn't get it the first time. So how this plays out is that Matt is going to draw lose a vote. He decides to draw again and draws another lose a vote. He gets no advantage and has lost his vote for 2 tribals. Sarah draws lose a vote, draws again, gets the inheritance advantage, which we will talk about. And then Lauren draws and immediately gets a bank a vote advantage. So Matt goes back completely empty-handed, to less than empty-handed. And Sarah and Lauren get these advantages. Now, the inheritance advantage seems quite strong. I've seen some discussion on this. It seems as though how this works is that prior to advantages being played, meaning when she casts the vote, I think this is how it works, she has to decide to play the inheritance advantage, which means she doesn't get to wait until other people play the advantages and then be like, mine now, thank you. She has to anticipate that these advantages will be played, and then any advantage played after she activates the inheritance advantage will come into her possession. So she will inherit any advantages played at that tribal council. Very powerful because, theoretically, you get tribals where like a bunch of advantages get played at once. She could really just like gobble up a ton at once and then just like break the game.
Yeah, she might be walking away with 2, 3 hidden immunity idols at this point, like advantages left and right. Also, I'm assuming we will have advantages that are played before the vote, like the seal advantage or whatever.
Right, like knowledge is power. Like, what about that one? Like, is that maybe that's not going to be there, and maybe this is the replacement for that. So who knows? But
well, this is like knowledge is power, huge advantage. This I think is like maybe the biggest potential benefit we've seen in the game. Granted, like you have to have a little bit of knowledge. Like it would be horrible to play this and then nothing gets played, but all you have to do is know someone that has an advantage and they play it and they let you know they're going to play it, and then you basically get it for 2 weeks back to back.
In the long run. Thing is, and I think Rob mentioned this, but I mean, my first thought was if she is able to find her own idol, that would be massive, right? As long as it works this way, she could just get her idol back. She could play it She could play the inheritance advantage, then play her idol, and then inherit her own idol back to her possession, unbeknownst to anybody. So she could get a public idol like Brandon, play it, and then get it back. And the really nice thing about that is that if she plays her idol in a spot where people maybe didn't even anticipate that she would, like what we saw in this tribal, that can often spook players into playing their own advantages, thinking, this is not part of the plan that I thought was going to happen. I'm going to play my own idol to be safe. Now, using her own advantages that she will get back, she could spook other players into playing theirs, which she will also get. So there's potentially some like big plays you can make with this advantage that are very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this advantage I'm excited about as a viewer. I also, though, Sarah did have the biggest lie she told everyone out of the 3 people that went to the island. And for that reason, I don't know how Sarah's going to do or if she'll get the opportunity to play it. But is this overpowered? Yeah, probably. Is it kind of fun? Yeah, I think so right now. Like, I kind of like advantages. But yeah, that is interesting. I really didn't even think she can do this with her own advantages and know that you're getting something at least.
Rudy's asking, does shot in the dark count as an advantage? I'm assuming not, personally. But
you just keep walking around with a pocket full of dice, like jangling.
But like another way you could use this, I think, is, say you get to a merge and it's like maybe a close vote between 2 sides. You could literally say to your side, listen, everybody play all of your advantages and I can get them right back. We can wreck this side. There's a bunch of different ways you can use this depending on your situation and what benefits you most, but it's definitely very powerful. Lauren gets the bank of vote, which is essentially a worse like extra vote.
Yeah.
Like you have to like get punished in order to activate it. The only benefit to this is that it's very easy to hide because you can say, oh, I went to Advantage Island, I lost my vote. And then when you don't vote in the next tribal, it's like, hey, you really it's confirmed you lost your vote. Even if you didn't show your paper, people, oh, I threw the paper away. I didn't think it was worth whatever, but clearly you saw I didn't vote. So, I lost my vote. Even then it's like, it's still like, okay, then you come out with an extra vote one day and it's like, oh boy. But it is what it is. Way less powerful than Sarah's. I feel like the disparity here is so dramatic for something that's random.
Well, yeah, and it really makes me wonder, what would Matt's advantage have been? Because like these are 2 new things. We saw one extreme and like the other extreme. And poor Lauren's probably going through like, well, everyone has this. Because Lauren says to her team, like, oh, well, here's what an advantage could have been. It could have been something like you can't vote and then you get the extra vote. And they're like, oh, did you get that? No, I lost my vote. I'm like, well, how do you know what the other potential advantages could have been? But why would you just describe exactly what yours is and not just like, I don't know, like a steal a vote? Who knows? Like, that was a little bit of a rough play by Lauren to me.
Yeah, this was not great. I felt like they all kind of didn't do super great with the lies, which is so weird because we've seen this 4 seasons now. It's like, obviously other people are gonna go and they're gonna know how it works, and they're gonna see that you don't see the advantage unless you get the advantage. They're gonna see that like there are multiple chances to lose your vote. They're gonna see that like there's just all kinds of different ways that you can get caught trying to lie about these things. And it really stood out to me. Again, I was saying like the only benefit to the bank of vote for Lauren is that it's a decent cover for having an advantage if that's what you want to do. The only way to screw that up is by telling them exactly how it works. Like, to go to your tribe and be like, okay, so there was an advantage. You either lose your vote or you get an advantage called bank your vote, where you don't vote once and then you get an extra vote. And I lost my vote, so I actually won't be voting in this next tribal, it turns out.
So weird.
You just presented them with a scenario where there's nothing that, like, nothing you do can exonerate you anymore.
No, and literally, yeah, as soon as one person goes, the jig's gonna be up for probably all 3 people that win. And if not that, you might have a situation with Claire talking cross tribe, or anyone talking cross tribe and just being like, hey, what'd your person say? Like, hey, this is what they said. And then immediately you're like, you're not trustworthy. You've lied about this. You know, you probably have an advantage. Like, you just always have to assume anyone that goes here has an advantage.
It doesn't even need to be like in the moment during an immunity challenge, right? Like, there's literally going to be another summit where 3 people from 3 different tribes go to an Advantage Island and have a forced conversation together, where the topic of conversation is probably going to be, hey, what do you think is about to happen? What did your person say?
Hey, this is the only thing of like excitement that's happened in the last 3 days. Like, let's really chat. Like, what do you think this could be? Well, what would you do? Like, what? They're like, the poor person who's on Sarah's tribe is gonna come and be like, so are you guys gonna risk your vote, or like, what's going on? And people are gonna be like, wait, what? What are you even talking about? Oh gosh. I don't know. And that's like Lauren at the last moment was like, I was gonna tell the truth, then I decided to lie. I'm like, why wouldn't you just prep a lie? Like, before you even go out, when you're on the boat, maybe you're walking and you're just like, hey, we don't know what this is, but like, are you guys gonna tell the truth or are you gonna lie? Like, let's set some boundaries here.
Maddie in her exit interview said that, and you know, exit interviews, not canon, but she said that she was tipped off to the fact that Lauren was probably lying, because Lauren came off the boat like, I'm back, let's go, I'm so excited. And then as she was telling the story, she was still excited until the you know, the ball dropped, and she was like, oh, and then I lost my vote. Very sad, definitely very sad about that.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I don't know if I would be like that upset by a seal vote. I mean, like, especially because I know, I mean, yeah, I guess you never want to tell people what it could be, but you could just be like, yeah, I lost my vote, and then like in like 5 tribals, I'm gonna get an extra vote or something like that. Like,
in my opinion, on a 6-person tribe, having the ability to have an extra vote or something along those lines, it only really benefits you. Like, you know, it's not that often that people are gonna be like, oh, we need to get rid of this extra vote. What it really probably does is it says, okay, either 1, this is going to help us out at a merge or a swap, and I want you to keep this so that you can help me in a vulnerable position, or 2, you have power in this tribe. There's only 5 or 6 votes total anyway, and you have 2 of them. So if I align with you, I need fewer people to take control of this tribe. So, you know, I don't think there's a lot of reason to lie about this. There's very few spots where you as an individual needed to keep your extra vote secret, because if people knew, then they could have, like, 1 extra vote as a secret is not very often going to make a difference, like to flip an entire vote you alone. So I think letting people know is going to be a good thing, especially if you're just going to get caught anyway, which it seems she was. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. And I think build the trust. And if people are just going to assume you have an advantage anyways, which I feel like most people just will, you might as well, if it's a kind of like nothing burger, just reveal it out there.
Yes. What I also wanted to talk about was Matt's situation, because Matt comes back. He's lost 2 votes at 2 tribals. He decides to tell his tribe that he lost 1 vote, not 2. I thought this was interesting because my initial thought was I either don't want to tell my tribe that I lost a vote at all. In fact, maybe I want to tell them, hey, yeah, I got an extra vote or something like, right? Like, I don't want people to know that my duo with Franny is now worthless, right? Like, I don't want people to know that I'm very vulnerable. Or I would actually maybe tell them, yeah, I lost both votes. Because if they know you can't vote at 2 consecutive tribals, it's almost entirely worthless to vote you out at the first tribal you can't vote. Because even if they're against you, you're worthless. You don't have any value that you can use against them. So like if the other 4 do want to vote out Franny and Matt, and they know that Matt can't vote at 2 different tribals, 1,000% every time you're voting out Franny.
Yeah.
Because she can vote at the next tribal. And if she gets an idol or she like anything could happen, she could mess you up with that vote. Whereas Matt is completely helpless. There's nothing he can do. So you might as well just keep him around for another vote. It kind of keeps you safe for at least 1 vote, given that you are vulnerable for not having a vote. So I kind of feel like I would want to go one or the other. Either tell them, yeah, I haven't lost a vote, or yeah, I actually lost 2 votes. So just count me out of the
I'm
voting
irrelevant,
situation.
guys. Just forget about little me over here. It's whatever. I agree with that. Like that was my thought process when he was going. At first I was like, don't tell anyone anything. But then it's like, well, if you're, waving a little like red flag, I guess, or something, like, oh yeah, what? Actually, I'm at a disadvantage. You might as well rip the Band-Aid totally off and just be like, I'm useless, guys. Like, and then people will really be like, this guy doesn't have an advantage. Who cares? My question, Taran, I don't know if you know this or not. If you've lost your vote, can you play the shot in the dark?
I don't think so.
Huh?
I think you have to have a vote in order to give up your vote. I think we've seen that before.
Okay.
Yeah. Tricky situation. But yeah, it's what made me think of this is that classically, back in Big Brother 8, Jamaica had to give up playing HOH for a few weeks, and that basically just like took her out of the game. Like nobody bothered to target Jamaica because she can't do anything. There's no point. You just take out all of her allies instead. So, obviously not a great place to be, but given that it's already happened, it kind of gives you a little bit of invulnerability. So, interesting stuff there. We then get to the immunity challenge, and we're going to see that Brandon really struggles, probably because of all of the work him and Matthew had to do with the sweat challenge. And ultimately, their tribe the Ratu tribe is going to lose. But in the meantime, as we said before, Claire is going to be like, Matthew, what did your person say? And share some info. I'm of 2 minds about this because it kind of reminds me a little bit of what we talked about in terms of like spiting the other tribe. Because yes, Claire is going to cause some division potentially. She's going to, get people to realize that they're being lied to, maybe get some information out of this. But I do think there is some risk attached to this as well. If Matthew goes back to his tribe and confronts Lauren and says, hey, Claire told me that you're lying, it's not going to make Lauren feel great about Claire in a potential swap or merge situation. And what does Claire really benefit from this? Not a whole lot, probably, especially if Lauren doesn't get voted out and it all kind of like, okay, I'm sorry I lied. I thought that's what I was supposed to do on Survivor. Let's move forward. Now, maybe we can even use this to our advantage. We'll pretend like we're fighting when we come to a merge. I feel like there's definitely some risk attached here. I think the biggest reason to do this is the information gathering bit from it, which is like, genuinely, I want to know what your person said because it might inform my stuff. And I think that, what you want to do ultimately is be in a situation where you have this conversation, but you're also able to then later potentially go to Lauren or whoever else you read it out and be like, Oh yeah, I didn't mean to call your spot out. I was just trying to
Mhm.
figure out if my person was lying.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a balance there. I think Claire did a pretty good job here. I think that it doesn't seem like Matthew was really looking to be like, hey, Claire said this. She's anti-Lauren. It seemed like she was able to get it out there like, hey, I'm just trying to share information here. No ill will,
Mhm. Yeah. I granted, look, she's a Claire. I'm gonna be biased here. I physically cannot help it. I mean, I think it's fun. I think cross tribe talking is always fun. Like, I think the potential of what could be is always fun. We saw Claire leave that conversation being like, I like you about Matthew. I think that kind of builds a little bit of trust between them. I think you do have to worry about, Matthew running to Lauren and being like, well, Claire told me this. But I think it's so far removed. I wouldn't be that concerned about that if like I was Claire out there, and maybe that's me not being that good of a game player. But having to worry about like, oh, well, if I say this and this and this, I do think you could always just be like, yo, I didn't know if I could trust Matt. And Matt was telling us he lost his vote and we saw this shell, but like, I'm just trying to kind of look out for you and give you a little bit of information. Clearly we're the bench sitters now, let's form a little bit of bond here. Because I also feel like it would be hard to sit next to someone on the bench and not want to like chat it up a little bit. Like we never really see that. But for me being on the bench, I would be like, so like what's going on over there? Like what's happening? I think that kind of eases a little bit of tension too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I think again, like part of the upside to it as well is, if Matthew is not a wild card player and isn't going to like rat you out, then you have potentially created a bit of a bond there. And if you come into a merge or a swap and you're like, hey, I hope that what I told you at the immunity challenge, like, did you tell anybody about that? And he says no, then that's like a good way for you to start developing trust. And having that relationship is potentially a very good thing, especially if he now feels like there are people in his tribe that he can't trust. So I think there's definitely some upside to it, but I think you have to acknowledge that there is also risk. If this is something that like you would do when you play Survivor, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though. I really like the move.
Take notes. Let me take notes, Taran.
All right. So we then get to the pre-tribal strategizing here for Ratu. And it seems like it's primarily Matthew going to Brandon and saying, hey, turns out Lauren lied to us. Now, according to Maddie, I believe she said that Lauren actually did tell Brandon the truth about her advantage. So this talk of voting Lauren out for lying to them seems either like a mislead from the edit or maybe something that like happened initially, but then the plan was changed. I don't think Lauren was ever a real plan going into tribal, because I think she had come clean with enough people by then. I think this animosity between Brandon and Maddie was kind of always going to come to a head, and it was just going to be a battle between the two of them for which person could win over the rest of the tribe. And we see that Maddie is going to push pretty heavily. Hey, let's take out Brandon. We'll take out his idol. And she knew about Lauren's advantage as well. That's why she told Lauren, like, hey, you're actually free to use it if you want. We don't need your vote. And she and Jamie Lynn was concerned about an idol being played, I believe, and that the vote could come back on her. So that's why she played her shot in the dark. And then Kane was actually just like on board with the plan with Maddie, voted Brandon out. Matthew, obviously, we don't know exactly where his strategic thinking was in terms of playing the shot in the dark. But according to Maddie, Matthew is actually the person that tipped Brandon off to play the idol. It wasn't what it seemed like it was in the episode, where, you know, the fact that Matthew played the shot in the dark is kind of what like spooked Brandon into playing it. Instead, again, according to Maddie, Matthew actually just straight up told Brandon, you should play your idol because the votes are coming on you. Which is exactly what I personally was concerned about when she went to Matthew about the plan. So that seems to be what happens. Maddie ultimately wins the tribe and wins the vote, but Brandon has the idol, plays it, and takes Maddie out with it. And that's going to be our first tribal.
Yeah. What a first tribal it was. I do think, you know, when I was ranking people, I had to take this in consideration for Maddie. I do think if you want to blindside someone who has an idol and it's your first vote, I just don't think the move here is telling absolutely everyone on your tribe. I think you're just opening up the door for one person to go run back, and now you're controlling the votes, especially in a situation where it's a 6-person tribe. You potentially know 2 people are not actually going to vote, which is, I'm sure, why she felt like she had to tell everyone. But then you're not even going to go and split the votes. I think it was, she was in the majority. She got the vote she needed, but I think you always have to be worried about someone going and slipping and just being able to control the game and control the vote.
And so I think that, you know, this could be a situation where, again, like the faster pacing, we've talked about this in the last few seasons, like this new era, faster pacing might have messed with this. I think that if Maddie has more time, she has 4 people. Like she could have just split the votes. She could have told Lauren, can you hold off on banking your vote for just one tribal because we need your vote. Hey, Jamie Lynn, you don't need to play your shot in the dark because we will have 4. We will split the votes. Even if Brandon plays his idol, it will fall on Matthew instead. Now, Jamie Lynn might still play it because she's concerned, especially if Matthew is talking about playing his shot in the dark. But theoretically, you could try splitting the votes here. And it's probably going to be pretty successful unless Matthew hits a shot in the dark and Brandon plays the idol successfully. You're going to be fine. And really, you know, you could also like just put 1 vote on Matthew and 2 on Brandon, or vice versa, and, you know, hope that as well. But that's not how it plays out. Instead, she lets Lauren not vote. Matthew's not going to vote. It's a 2-to-1 vote. And even there, she mentioned this with Rob, she could have still split the vote with her and Kane between Brandon and Matthew. Obviously, though, she doesn't know that Matthew is going to play his shot in the dark, which is what Rob brought up. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, unless it was necessary to let Lauren bank her vote in order to win her to her side, I think getting Lauren to vote with you and then saying, look, once we do this, we will have the numbers. There will be no idol to stop us. It'll be easy for you to bank your vote in a future tribal. You know, I think that was kind of the play. And instead, what we got was this mess of a tribal. I've heard some talk about Matthew and how some people are saying, okay, he used his shot in the dark to prevent himself from getting caught voting one way or another. That is certainly possible. But given the situation, I think that there's another read on this, which is that Matthew was just genuinely concerned for his own safety. Given that we know he told Brandon to play his idol, if Maddie had decided to split the votes on Brandon and Matthew is out. So that could be another reason why he just straight up played the shot in the dark, thinking I might need this to be safe myself, which kind of makes more sense to me than the I don't want people to know where my vote went, considering that I don't think anybody on that tribe is going to be like, oh man, I guess Matthew was really with us, but played his shot in the dark. And so now we don't need to see the vote. Like, I don't think that anybody's tricked by that.
No. And I think playing your shot in the dark makes you look more paranoid anyways. Yeah, you don't have to show your hand, but it also shows you don't trust what's happening. You don't trust what someone is telling you. And yeah, this tribe is like a hot mess express. Jeff beforehand, I think, asked Kane, like, is this going to be you guys leave and then it's a solid 5? And he was like, I don't know, some therapy illusion. But this is not going to be a cohesive 5, I don't think, moving forward. I think this tribe is going to be a 2-2-1, 1-1-1-1. I have no idea how this shakes out, but I don't think that this is going to be a go get along. We all tried to do things and it didn't work, but hey, Maddie's gone, so like now it's fine. I have a feeling this might come down on Kane, might come down on Jamie Lynn, Matthew, Brandon, Lauren. Really, anyone could get the heat from this.
Well, that's the thing too about the idea of hiding the vote. It's that, like, who is Matthew hiding the vote from? You know, like, like he should want to be anti-Brandon if that is what the rest of the tribe is doing, right? Because from my perspective, given how things played out, unless major things change, it seems pretty simple to me that Lauren, Kane, and Jamie Lynn now have 3 people against Matthew and Brandon. And they also have an extra vote with Lauren. Like, it'd be pretty easy for them to just keep going here, you know, especially since they showed their cards against Brandon. Now, they could maybe, like, Lauren and Jamie Lynn could maybe try to pretend like, hey, we were never going to vote for you. What are you talking about? But I don't think anybody's going to believe that. Now, the only thing is that Maddie did say that Lauren and Brandon were working together, which is one of the reasons why she wanted Brandon out. But ultimately, she convinced Lauren to take Brandon out. So it's possible they could repair that relationship, but I don't know why you would want to, personally, given that you've betrayed him once. So, you know, it kind of looks like they hold all the power here. Brandon survives this 1 vote by playing the idol, but can he survive more votes is going to be a big question. Matthew, I think, would probably be in even more danger now that Brandon doesn't have an idol to take out. Brandon's going to be more advantageous in challenges. Also, with that Lauren connection, I think Matthew is in the most danger at this point.
Yeah, I was really convinced. I'm not an Edgic person, but I was really convinced watching this first episode that Matthew was going to be our first vote. Just based off things I was reading off of him, basically on the screen, of like what we were getting from him in confessional, him falling off the rock. Well, I really thought he was just going to be medevaced for a while. But then, I don't feel good for Matthew. I think that is who I'm worried about. Brandon, I think you still want the strength going forward. What I wonder about, and I think we'll just have to wait, like, did Matthew and Brandon talk once Matthew reveals, hey, they're going to vote for you, play your idol? I bet they just didn't have enough time, but did they talk about, okay, who should we try to take out? Because given that, I don't know, I feel like I would want to get rid of an advantage if you're playing an advantage. Like, hey, Lauren didn't tell you. I'm the one telling you. Like, let's take out Lauren. Why are we going after Maddie? Like, I don't know how tied Matthew and Brandon actually are. Was this vote really just benefited Brandon? Like, and it seemed like the most random vote that was out there. I don't think Matthew would have wanted that, but so I don't even know how tight those two are.
Yeah, I mean, from Brandon's perspective, you have 2 options, right? You can take out Maddie, who is never going to work with you, always going to be trying to go after you, like, just not due to your own actions, quite frankly. But still, that's the reality of it at this point. Or you have Lauren, who you have a better relationship with, but you've maybe heard that she's betrayed you. And also, you know, she has an advantage, which means she's going to have multiple votes, which means she's going to be, like, way more dangerous than Maddie moving forward. I do think that's an interesting decision. Personally, I think I'd still just take out Maddie. In the game, I'd rather have somebody who's more powerful that I at least can theoretically work with than somebody I know I can never work with, even if they're slightly, like, they have a little bit less power. I'm fine with somebody who never wants to work with me if they're, like, completely on an island, no power, you know, and they're just gonna be dragged along for the rest of the game. But somebody like Maddie, who already was able to sway an entire vote against me, like, I just want her gone. I don't want her anywhere near a swap or a merge, putting my name out there. I'd rather have Lauren, hope that I win a bunch of challenges and we don't go to tribal again, or hope that I can repair my relationship with Lauren and maybe they'll take out Matthew first. And then I maybe go into a swap or a merge, and I've got something. So I think Maddie is the right call here for Brandon once he screws up in the first place by getting her to not trust him in the first place.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. I think that's about the episode. Should we just should we run through these players? Obviously, this is the first episode, so this is going to be particularly interesting. But what we do here in the Stockwatch is we run through every player. We give them a rating from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game, based on the edit, what we're shown. So a lot of it's going to be unknown, especially for players who did not go to Tribal. But that is the basics here. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Please.
Let's kick off.
I'm having hot takes. Yeah. Okay, people. This is the first time. Okay, I rated unbiased to Taran, and I did tell Derek my ratings, and he was like, "Whoa, okay." Boy. Like, so we'll see. This isn't like BB Stockwatch, right? Like people aren't playing along.
Yes, you're about to birth us.
All right, we're gonna birth you into this game right now.
Motherhood. Okay. And people at home didn't vote, right?
No.
This is just you and me. We're
just us. Nobody's watching.
We're the birthing parents. We're the parents out here.
All right, let's get we're gonna kind of quickly run through the players that we didn't see as much of, because there's not a ton to talk through with them. So let's start down at the Soka tribe, the bottom tribe here, the green tribe. And let's run through some of these players. And I will rank them in order of like who we think is the best on the tribe to who we think is in the worst spot on the tribe. If I had to pick the person I think is in the worst spot, honestly, I have no idea, but I think it has to be Matt, just by the fact that he has lost his votes, which is not a good spot for him. The fact that people know he's lost a vote means he's less valuable to to align with here moving forward. He's in this duo with Franny, which could be beneficial if people see them as a block of votes. But given that there's only one vote between the two of them, it only makes them all the more, target worthy. So I feel like not a super great spot for Matt. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Matt was my lowest on the Soka tribe. Absolutely. One of my lowest overall also. I have him down for the same reasons. His lost 2 votes, the fact that he's in a pretty public duo. I relate to Matt in his like awkwardness, goofiness. I think, look, him, me, Franny, we're all pretty similar out there. But I don't know how well he's gonna bond with like Josh and Danny, who are kind of like workout buffs, like, and I think that I'd be more inclined to think that the girls would work together than with Matt. So I definitely have Matt here at the lowest.
Yeah, I think I would have to. And again, this is, based on a lack of information. We don't know what his relationships are. For all we know, he's in good. It doesn't matter that he's lost votes. But given that we don't know his relationship positioning, the fact that he's lost 2 votes puts him in a severe disadvantage. I would probably give him like a 3.
I'm at a 2.
A 2 for Matt.
2 for his 2 votes that he's missing.
He has 1 point for every vote he doesn't have.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, again, for lack of information, I think I have to personally put Franny right above him. She, just due to her connection to him, also suffers from his lack of votes. Especially if, again, like they find out that he actually has 2 lost votes or something along those lines, she becomes an even more appetizing target if they want to target the 2 of them, break them up. Franny's the better one to take out because she at least has a vote for the following tribal. And if Matt goes down, that's not good for Franny anyway. So I feel like just not a great spot for Franny here with Matt losing his votes either. Granted, that's a bit more like tangential to her gameplay. But for that reason, I'm going to drop her just a point to a 4.
Interesting. We are diverging, Taran.
Ooh,
I
here we go.
actually had Franny at a 6.
Okay.
Granted, a spoiler, I know nothing about Danny or Josh. And very little about Heidi. So those are like very middle of the pack for me. But I think Franny, even though they're in this duo, I think you do have a number. And although it would be easy for the other 4 just to look at these 2 and say, hey guys, 4 is bigger than 2. I don't think we can get in there. I think that there is some added benefit to the perception of like, maybe it's not so obvious. And okay, well, here's 2 people I can vote with. And yeah, Matt doesn't have his vote for his first 2 tribals, but like we just have to get to a certain point. And maybe if 3 of us plus Matt can pull together, hey, we still do have the numbers because it is still 3 versus 2. And I think I'm biased to Franny because I relate to her. So I think that I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I think she might be able to maneuver it and work it out.
All right. Well, I agree with you that Danny and Josh, I feel like I know next to nothing about at this point in terms of like where they are with the tribe. Heidi, we saw her make the fire, which was cool.
like
I
that.
feel like she got some good content, like edit wise. But other than that, also, I have no idea where she lies. Personally, I think I would just like throw them all in here in a row as just 5s. I just don't, I've got no reason to put them up or down at this point.
Yeah, I gave them basically all 5s. I chucked Heidi a 6 just because we saw her make fire. Nowadays, fire making is very important, Taran. So, got to toss her in for that potential final 4, making fire. Who knows?
There you go. And that leaves, of course, Claire at the top here, mostly just because of 2 things. One, the immunity challenge, talking to Matthew. Good stuff, fun stuff. Also, there is a secret scene of that is kind of focused around Claire. And that is a scene where they're talking about Claire as somebody that is like very good with people on the tribe. She talks about like wanting to play hard, but understanding that it's important to not be perceived as playing hard. So she's really trying to find the line between playing hard and not looking like it. Actively trying to find that line, which is very dangerous potentially, especially given that like most of what I've seen, I would say she's a little over that line in terms of playing harder than she probably wants to come off. But the fact that she's aware of it and trying to not play as hard, I think is a good thing, or at least, again, be perceived as playing hard is a good thing. I think she made an interesting call with the Matthew stuff at the immunity challenge. And she also, for what it's worth, and this is potentially a good thing for Franny and Matt, is that she does seem to have a relationship with Franny in that secret scene, which would theoretically be good for her, except for the fact that Matt doesn't have a vote. So
Yeah,
it doesn't really
that's
matter.
fair. Yeah, I feel like we did get a lot of shots of all 3 girls together in the episode, like enough that it like I picked up on it and I noticed it. Yeah, I'm all in on Claire, baby. I gave her an 8. I wrote down a 10 and I said that's too bold. It's too bold. I think she's a fun player. I can't lie. I have met her in person. So I don't know if we should take that into account, and I don't want to. I genuinely don't know how she's done.
Claire squared.
It is Claire R squared. We have a lot of things in common, actually. A lot of people, my like personal friends have texted me and been like, this seems like you. But I think Claire is someone that, she's out there at the challenge in her little cat t-shirt that says, I'm trying my best. And she has her little scrunchie in, and she was saying, teamwork. Like, I don't think she's someone that you necessarily look at and you're like, now this girl is a strategic threat. I'm super threatened by her. I'm afraid of her. I think she is super smart, but she doesn't necessarily, she's a venture capitalist or whatever, and she invests millions of dollars. I don't think she's necessarily someone that you see her and you're like, I am afraid of her. Whereas maybe like Carson, you see him and you're like, now this guy's a kid genius. I think that she could have the potential to go really far and be underestimated out there, especially when you have like Franny and Matt, who I would be like, well, these are the nerds of the tribes, and Claire can just kind of be the social butterfly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of potential here. She seems like with Matt having fewer votes, if she's aligned with Matt, that's not great. But it does put him and Franny, I think, in a more vulnerable position. I don't think there's any reason, if you're against Franny and Matt, there's not really a reason to vote for Claire first. So she should be pretty good there. And if they're not going after Franny and Matt, then that means that she's got at least, Franny's vote probably, which means that it would have to be like, again, it would have to be like Heidi, Danny, and Josh all teaming up against her, Franny, and Matt. Where again, I feel like they vote out one or Franny and Matt first. So, even in the worst case scenarios, I feel like she's still in a decent spot. And I feel like there's not a lot of reason to believe that she's in a worst case scenario. I think that she's probably in a pretty decent scenario right now. The way she talks about the game is very impressive. The move with Matthew is interesting. So I went with a 7 for Claire. I think that I'm very hopeful for where she goes from here.
Yeah, I think her downfall might be maybe a little bit like Matthew's, maybe a little impulsive, maybe a little bit messy, a little bit, desire to gossip here and there. But for now, I think she's in a good spot.
All right, let's go top to bottom for this next tribe, for the Tika tribe. We'll start with the person we think is in the best position on the Tika tribe. And you expressed some concern for this player, but just due to her advantage alone, I have to say that Sarah must be in the best position on this tribe for now. I think that they'll probably find out that she's lying about the thing at some point. I don't think that's a huge deal, especially if she confides in some of them eventually about what she's got. I think that she's in a position where she's probably not going to be voted out this early. Although, actually, thinking about it, hold on. Bruce can't vote. Bruce is gone. And Sarah can't vote, which means that the trio of Sarah, Carson, and Helen don't actually have the votes against Carolyn and Jam Jam. I'm reconsidering on the spot here. Because if is Jam Jam really going to be like, yeah, Carolyn's my person. I'm going to rocks for Carolyn. Join me. Probably not.
Yeah. How much are we taking into consideration the preview for next week?
I forget what was in the preview next week.
Well, I rewatched the episode this morning. I don't know what it was, but it looked like to me like Carolyn had found something in like a tree or something. Like
the key, perhaps, to the cave.
Perhaps the key.
And then potentially an idol, which would make them an even stronger. And then if she potentially, I feel like if she's going to confide in anybody, honestly, I think Carolyn would, I feel like she would instinctually go to either Carson or Jam Jam. She's got a son, I believe. So I feel like she might be like Carson. He's like a little, he's like my son maybe. Or Jam Jam as the other like older person. Again, they're like 35 and 36. But like older than the 20s people on the tribe. She might go to him also. I feel like she will go to somebody, even though she knows these games and knows that she should probably keep things secret. I think she understands that her social position is kind of not great, and that this is an in for her to be able to make some connections. So if she does find something, I could see her going to Carson or Jam Jam. And that could be interesting. We could definitely see some things happen here. I still think, Sarah not having a vote definitely is weird. Carolyn's power is more valuable than Sarah's in the short term if she finds the idol. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I am going to I forgot that Sarah losing her vote definitely changes. I'm going to actually put Carson at the top. Just based on my read that Carolyn might go to Carson, or at the very least that if there is some kind of battle between the two, like age groups, that he might be the person that is able to go into the middle. Even though he's the youngest, I think that Sarah and Helen are more likely to stick together, and that Carson might be the one deciding between like a Carolyn and Jam Jam or Sarah and Helen.
Interesting.
So I think I might put him up at the top for now. Not by a large margin though. I think I think he's pretty safe. I'm gonna give him like a 6.
Okay. This is interesting. I did put Helen actually first.
Okay.
But I think maybe we are just having different reads on who Carolyn would go to. I forgot that she had a son. But in the episode, we did see Carolyn go to Helen and just be like, hey, I feel like no one's really looping me in. We didn't really see Helen then loop her in, though. It was kind of just like, oh, yeah, no one's talking to me either. We didn't really see anything develop there, but I feel like, okay, maybe there's been a little bit of trust built there. Carolyn was like, oh, but I really like you. So that was my read on that. So I had Helen just above Carson, and I had her like at a 7, I think.
All right. Interesting. Okay. I think you've convinced me enough to put Helen next on the chance that she may also be somebody that Carolyn goes to, given that we saw some of that at least in the episode. And then I would probably go with Sarah. And I'd probably give them I think I'd probably still give them both 6s. I still think they're in a pretty good spot on the tribe. Helen, because she's probably in a decently safe space. And then Sarah, even though she lost her vote, also now has this very powerful advantage. So that's going to give her a little bit of a bump as well. So I think I'd give them both around 6s there for slightly different reasons. But all 3 of them kind of just like generally slightly better than average, maybe.
Yeah. I think that's I was a little bit lower on Sarah. Just because
the lie.
I want to see how it plays out. Yeah, because of Carolyn, because of her line, because of just a few different things. I don't really know. That was just a vibe I got. So I had her a little bit lower, but yeah, I think that's fair. You've convinced me. The power is very overpowered.
Yeah. Then, even with
wait, I'm back.
Yes.
But no one else yet has an advantage on our tribe.
True.
Until someone gets an advantage, it's not really worth anything. Like there's
it's long-term powerful.
Long-term. Short-term, it's like, well, I've lost my vote.
It's useless.
Yeah.
Although it's useless except for potential social implications, because if she does tell them I've got this advantage, it can be hugely beneficial to us in a merge or a swap. That could give her something, or put a target on her back. Yeah. Despite the fact that Carolyn might find something in the next episode, I still think I have to put Jam Jam ahead of Carolyn. I just feel like she is the default target heading into the following round. And unless she finds something or makes some inroads, I feel like it's going to be tough for her to find a way to survive a vote, given her current position. I feel like if we're going to talk a little bit of edit, I feel like you don't open up on Carolyn and give her this much screen time if she goes in the second episode or something like that. Yeah. But strategically, position wise, I'm finding there are ways out, but I think most of the time in this spot, it's going to be a little tricky given what we know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jam Jam, I'll give a 5 too, just because I didn't really see anything from him strategically in this episode, even though he was very entertaining. He did give a great line to us in the intro.
I'll grab your puke bag. I'll wipe up your tears,
Grab your puke bag. I'll wipe up your tears. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with him?
That sounds like an ally to me. I mean,
yeah, he's got your back.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want him around? Like who's he hurting? I think he could endear you a little bit. We didn't really get anything strategic from him. We saw he's into mischief. He maybe eventually people might get tired of him, but like I think he's a fun guy. He's having a fun time out there. I'll be interested to see like how does he strategize out there. I will also say like Survivor is very different from Big Brother just in terms of like length, but it is nice to have someone that like everyone enjoys, has a good time with. It is like tempting versus someone that you get annoyed with, who wants to have that person around for another 3 days. But yeah, don't really know much about him. Give him a 5.
Yeah, fun fact, actually, they edited this out of order because Jam Jam was actually replying to Jeff when Jeff said,
All right, we're going to birth you into this game right now.
Jam Jam said,
I'll grab your puke bag. I'll wipe out your tears,
No.
all right. And that, of course, leaves Carolyn here, who I think I have to currently give a 3 to. I'd honestly maybe even go lower given her current position. But if she maybe finds something next time, then who knows? But I think a 3 for now is appropriate. I think it's still early, so there's time for things to change. And the fact that Sarah doesn't have a vote is very valuable, regardless of what Carolyn finds. So there are still outs here for Carolyn.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I gave her a 3.
Yes, and Bruce, he's coming back. We're banking the rating, as Claire
Banking
said.
the vote.
There's
number.
no reason to give Bruce any rating at this point. We saw nothing strategically from him. He will be back. He'll get a rating when he plays properly.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be in bad taste. He does have bad head-eye coordination, but I do think in future, he just needs to work on that a little bit.
Well, he said to Rob that the shirt he brought was too constricting, and that his arms could not move as flexibly as they needed to. So
must have been
fashion choice. Yeah. Well, now he knows for next time.
Exactly.
All right.
Now it's going to be too baggy, and he's going to trip over it.
Let's talk about the Ratu tribe, and let's start at the bottom here. Of course, Maddie is voted out, so we'll talk about her first. And let's not accidentally move everybody at once. Maddie, I have seen a lot of dunking on Maddie. And I do think that some of that is unwarranted. When I watched this episode and I was watching Maddie try to pull off a blindside on Brandon, who has an idol in the first tribal, I was like, you fool. You are clearly not going to succeed. Nobody in their right mind would agree to a vote against a dude that has an idol in the first tribal. You're going to fail. Now, she did kind of fail in a way, but she also actually succeeded, which I was actually pretty impressed with. At the end of the day, you can't argue with the fact that she did get the tribe to all agree, except for perhaps Matthew, to take out Brandon. She got 4 people on board to take out the strongest person on the tribe who had an idol, and it was very dangerous to make this play. She got them all to agree to do it. It did backfire on her specifically, but I have to at least give her that. Now you can question, should she have done it in the first place? There's a discussion there for sure. Again, personally, I'm like, if Brandon is anti-me, always going to be anti-me, has a relationship with Lauren, has an idol, if I can't get Brandon and instead maybe I go for somebody easier like Matthew, then now what? Brandon has an idol. He can maybe repair whatever relationship he has with Lauren that's, gone too far in one direction. It's now a 3-2 vote. Or even like, but maybe it's a 4-1 vote next time, but Brandon has that idol. He's probably going to know that he's on the outs. He's going to play that idol. It's going to mess up my structure. What are we going to do with that? I think there is plenty of reason to take out Brandon here if you're able to. Do I think it's worth the risk, especially with the time constraints? Probably not. Do I blame Maddie for screwing up in a spot where this is literally like her second day playing Survivor and she's just doing her best out there? No, not particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she was, I think she clearly made some mistakes. I don't know that she made the right call by, again, going after him in the first place, but lots of great players have had some really bad first couple of tribals because they were just getting their feet under them. Most of them don't have the unfortunate situation of the one guy that found the idol also is your biggest enemy because he doesn't trust you for whatever reason, and then also plays the idol and takes you out with it. You didn't even get voted out with the majority of the votes. In fact, there was only one guy that wanted to vote for you. Like, there are some extenuating circumstances here, I think, that that we should credit Maddie with, despite the fact, again, there's plenty to criticize as well. So I think that it's an interesting case here, Claire. What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you what, she is not my lowest rating. Like, I know she literally has 0% chance of winning, but I don't think she played the worst on the tribe. Like, yeah, she ended up leaving, but like that doesn't necessarily always mean that everything she did was wrong. I think in a lot of situations, she ends up saying, maybe Brandon plays the idol and someone else ends up going. Like, yes, she should have thought about splitting the vote. She should have talked about getting rid of Brandon earlier. But I don't know how quick this goes. I feel like we've heard from people coming off, like, when you're making a last minute decision, you just have to go really quick. You don't have time to think it out. It's the first tribal. I don't think it's like, she's so dumb. Like, not at all. I think she did the best with the information that she had available to her. That Brandon and you are not getting along. And what are the odds that someone plays the idol at the first tribal council? Like, I am a believer that when someone has the idol and you want to flush it, you do just kind of have to do it. And you have to take that risk. And maybe, you're splitting a vote ideally. But I understand where she's coming from, wanting to get rid of that idol, like, because the longer he has it, the fewer people there are. It's just going to be looming over you. It's like Chekhov's gun. It's going to come out at some point. And if you can get rid of it now when he might think that you're too afraid to, all right, there's probably stuff that we didn't see. Like, how are you reassuring that person? How are you making sure everyone's along? Was it too rushed? Probably. But I don't think that she had that bad of a play here. She got the majority. She swung the vote. She was potentially voting out the person who was most against her. It's pretty good play. He just happened to have the idol, and you did go home. I gave her a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always important to be aware of the level of difficulty that the person was dealing with, right? Like, there's a difference between somebody who is completely safe in a totally fine situation and then gets super paranoid, runs around, causes themselves to be voted out for no reason, despite the fact that they were in a good position. Versus, like, a situation where here's your first couple of days, you have the majority of the tribe on your side, but there's one guy, he's the strongest guy on the tribe. Despite you trying to work with him, he doesn't want to work with you. He wants nothing to do with you, refuses to share info with you. Also, he happens to have now found an idol. Like, this is a situation that most people don't have to deal with. It's the level of difficulty in dealing with the situation is very high. Now, did she make mistakes? Absolutely. But it's a lot easier to make mistakes if you are dealing with a very difficult situation versus like a gimme, where, there's an easy vote, or like maybe he doesn't have an idol and it's just whatever. Like, there's plenty of situations where this all works out fine for Maddie. But again, she did make those mistakes. And I agree with you. Ultimately, this is a 3. And I think that, I'm talking a lot about like the defense sort of Maddie, mostly because most of what I've seen is just like complete dunking on her. Like, what an idiot. She's a terrible, terrible player. It's like, I don't really agree with that. I don't think she did great here. But I do want to take account of the fact that like this was kind of a tricky situation to begin with. You know, would she have run this tribe if Brandon doesn't have the idol? I don't think so. I at this point I don't think so. But you know, I think there are some things to point out here for Maddie. All right. Let's then talk about who would I have next? I think it has to be Matthew for me. I don't yet know why he played the shot in the dark. Again, my theory is that he was worried about his own safety because he told Brandon to play the idol and that votes might come on him, which they should have. And quite frankly, he should have been the one that left if they were playing correctly and they were planning their votes properly. Which means that him telling Brandon to play his idol, not a good move, if that is in fact what he did. Again, exit interviews are not necessarily canon, but not a great play to do that, in my opinion. I think that he should have just kind of like, you know, if Brandon's the vote, then sorry, Brandon. You know, like I don't want to be the vote. In addition to that, I think he's in a kind of a tricky spot. I think that, you know, probably the rest of the tribe knows that he's on Brandon's side. He was not in on that vote. Theoretically, maybe they know that he ratted the vote out. Like, who knows? But either way, he's injured. He's not very valuable to the tribe strength-wise. He doesn't seem to have any like strong connections other than perhaps Brandon, but Brandon also seems like he's currently on the outs. Just not a good spot for Matthew overall in general. Climbing the rock, maybe not the best decision in the world. Also, we got to take that into account. I'm going to give Matthew I think I'm also going to give him a 3.
Ooh, whoa. Look, I give Matthew a 4. I think, I don't know why he played the shot in the dark. I agree with you. I do think he's going to be in trouble because people will ask Brandon, yo, why did you play your idol? What's it to him to not say like, oh, Matthew told me. Okay, now people aren't necessarily mad at Brandon. You know, Maddie was really driving that. Now people are going to be upset at Matthew. We've already seen a few people on the tribe talk about how they think Matthew is a little bit impulsive. They don't have that good of vibes around Matthew. He's also hurt. And, you know, we've seen like Tyson utilize an injury to their advantage in the game of lessening their threat level. I don't really know if Matthew will be able to do that. He might just become kind of a liability, an easy pickoff to come. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's fun. I think he's having fun out there. But I do think that this will catch up to him sooner than later.
All right. Next, I think I would probably put Brandon. I just think, again, the way he handled finding the key and then showing the entire tribe the immunity, the fact that he had to play an immunity idol at the first tribal as the strongest person on his tribe, like he should not be in this position. He has he goes in with all kinds of benefits of like being this big, strong guy. He finds an idol right away. This guy should be running the tribe. The fact that he's not is not great. And he has to play this idol. Now that he's played the idol, he's still in a spot where like, unless he's able to reconnect with people, develop the relationships he needs, he could theoretically still be on the outs. It's not looking super great here for Brandon. But he does still have those advantages. He's still the strongest guy in the tribe. He still potentially has that connection with Lauren that he could maybe get back, especially now that she has an extra vote. That could be particularly valuable. He still potentially has this relationship with Matthew. There are definitely ways for him to bounce back from this. But, I mean, there's no way you could argue that he was not on the outs here, considering that his tribe just tried to vote him out. So, Brandon, I would give a 4.
Yeah, Brandon's also at a 4 for me. I think I don't necessarily trust in Brandon's skills at Survivor, or at least this modern era of Survivor, and like the fast flowing advantages. What do you do when you see one, when you get it? Who are you deciding to trust? If he's someone where, you know, Maddie was kind of like, well, should we talk about maybe us just keeping it? And he automatically decided, this means I cannot trust Maddie. Maddie will have the potential to lie to me in the future. you will encounter that again in the future. And if you are so quick to shut off a potential ally, it makes me a little bit nervous for him. Maybe he's learned, keep the advantages a little bit quieter, or hey, you're going to have to trust people that you probably, you're going to have to vote with people that you don't trust. In the long run, I would feel better about it. That said, he is a strong member, but you look around at the guys in their tribe and they probably have the strongest guys out there. I think for any of the guys, you could say, we could lose one of them and it's fine. I was laughing a little bit when I don't know if it was Kane or Matthew brought it up and was like, but he's strong. And Maddie's like, yeah, but so you, and so is he. And like, I'm strong. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't know if you're like a 1-for-1 here. But yeah, I think he seems likable enough. I don't know his depth of Survivor knowledge, and I think it could catch up to him.
Yes. All right. Next, I would probably put Kane, who he was in the majority, obviously with both Lauren and Jamie knowing the plan that Brandon was going to leave. I think that clearly there was a majority of 4 people that were all knowing that Brandon was the target, whether or not they actually voted. Obviously, she banks her vote. Jamie is going to use her shot in the dark, but they would have voted Brandon, seemingly. But Kane is the one that actually did vote Brandon, and is kind of left hanging here the most, I think. He seemed to have, a good relationship with Maddie, who is now gone, and has potentially ruined his relationship with Brandon, and who knows what the relationship with Matthew is at this point. I don't really know where Kane goes from here if there is no consensus with all of the remaining people, with Jamie and Lauren, to stick together and take out Brandon and Matthew. I think Kane is the first one to go there, because I don't really know that he has as much of a relationship with them as he did with Maddie. So that kind of puts Kane in kind of a weird spot, but it's not necessarily a bad one yet. So I'm kind of just in the middle with him. I'd give him a 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I did give him a 4 also, because he was the sole vote that Brandon saw. I think Brandon will feel the most hurt by him. Granted, I think Brandon, I don't really know where this tribe goes after this. I don't really know if he can, rally votes necessarily. But I think we didn't see enough of Kane also. It really wasn't a focus of this episode, which I think is also playing a factor into my ranking. But I think it would be easy for people. Maybe you decided, hey, I don't really want to piss off Brandon and Matthew. Let's actually just pin this on Kane and Maddie. I think that's a pretty easy next move if you want to have some kind of new strong 4. Who do we look at? So I gave him a 4. I don't really have many thoughts about him though.
Yeah. All right. Next then for me would be Jamie Lynn, who I think is, she plays her shot in the dark, becomes the first person to successfully play the shot in the dark, lands on safe.
Is it successful if you didn't negate votes?
I mean, given that nobody's actually been safe from it at all, I think that the definition of successful is different than playing an idol where you're guaranteed safe no matter what. So it's successful in the fact that she was actually safe, not in the fact that she needed to play it.
Yeah. That's fair.
So should she have played the shot in the dark? In my opinion, no. I think that again, you just split your votes here. That's how you keep yourself safe. The chances of shot in the dark working are so slim that it's way more likely that you'll keep yourself safe by splitting votes than by playing shot in the dark. And now she also doesn't have a shot in the dark to play in the future. In a spot where it might actually be better. Like a 1 in 6 shot is better than having her 1 vote against 8 or whatever. So that's not great. I think it also doesn't speak well to getting people to trust you. If people are this is your first vote, and people, if I'm Lauren, I can't complain because I did the same thing. But even somebody who wasn't working with her might feel like, okay, you're not exactly a reliable ally, are you? Like, this is not really like you're not somebody that's gonna look out for the team. You're somebody that's gonna look out for you to the detriment of the team. And I don't think that's a super great thing. However, I think that she's in a fine spot. There's like, unless the entire tribe just like reconvenes and gets all kumbaya and decides, let's take out who we perceive to be the weakest player. She shouldn't be the first person that they target next. And also, she's got a great strategy for winning this game.
I am going to be the next sole survivor. Bing, how are you going to do it? I'm going to build personal emotional connections. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. She's like a little fairy out there.
Bing, bing,
Bing, bing,
bing. Played a shot in the dark.
Bing. Bing. Safe. Bing.
Do you think she's just really into the new AI Bing search?
Yeah, she's actually a Microsoft plant. If you didn't know, it's good.
I gave her 5. I think she's just in a. I think that there are reasons to feel good about her and reasons to feel bad about her, and it kind of balances out to a 5.
Yeah, I also gave her a 5. I think she's very paranoid, and I have a feeling you will continue to be very paranoid, which isn't what you want in an ally. And I think I'd be interested now that a shot in the dark has been played correctly, if it will make people more aware of it, and if it won't potentially, or if it would potentially increase, like, hey, we can vote for her. She doesn't have the shot in the dark. We really don't have anything to fear here. Not that really I think anyone should take shot in the dark into consideration. But yeah, I think for the reasons, I think she's not as threatening. She doesn't have any extra votes. She's just kind of, she's in with the numbers right now. I think her paranoia will catch up to her. You don't have another shot in the dark. Matthew also lost a shot in the dark for who knows why. So yeah, I think that this tribe, like I said, is pretty divided. But yeah, I give her a 5.
All right, and that of course leaves Lauren, who, despite getting caught lying and seemingly being a target at one point in this episode, I actually feel like had a pretty strong episode overall, and should be in the driver's seat for this tribe for the rest of the pre-merge or pre-swap. I think the play to guarantee herself a shot at Advantage Island was great. And especially if she gets something like the inheritance advantage, like that could have been even more huge. The fact that she gets through this vote, being able to bank her vote, which means she now has 2 votes on a 5-person tribe, gives her a lot of power moving forward. She should still have a lot of options. She should be able to work with Jamie Lynn if she wants. She should be able to work with Kane if she wants. And she still has that connection to Brandon, according to Maddie, that she could go back to him if she wanted to, potentially. He's certainly got no other options, especially because she has those 2 votes. So I feel like she's in a pretty good position here moving forward. In fact, I would say of everybody in the game at this point, she's the person I'm most confident shouldn't have any difficulties in the next couple of episodes, unless like something really screwy happens. So for those reasons, I'm going to give her a 7.
Taran, I also gave her a 7.
Boom.
Minds. Synergy,
Sorry,
baby.
bang.
Bing.
I'm going to be the next sole survivor. Bing, how are you going to do it? I'm going to build personal emotional connections. Bing, 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 bing.
Perfect. This is what I've been saving the feather for. Man, if you listen to this on audio, you'll have no idea.
You're missing out on all the feather action.
It's rough. No, I agree. I think she is in the best spot on her tribe. She can build those relationships, and she has this extra vote now. And on a tribe with 5 people, the extra vote just will be pretty vital, especially on a very split tribe. I think she has good relationships with everyone. It seems like her advantage is kind of out in the open now, or at least that she has one, but no one seems that concerned about it. So I think she's in a good spot. I will say, I did note she's not a strong swimmer. which, that doesn't really mean that much, but like, hey, might come down the road, and an individual immunity, just something to note. I like to pay attention to swimming things as a swimmer.
I feel like there's usually not individual immunity
swimming. Yeah,
things.
it'll be like jump off something and then swim in, but
Mm.
I don't know. I guess that's true. Yeah, it's more team things, but she might be the weakest swimmer out there on a team thing then, who knows? But I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, then. That is, that's it. That's the Stockwatch. We did it.
Bing. Good work, Taran.
I thought about isolating just the bings, and I was like,
Mhm.
what use would I have just to do bing, 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 bing?
Yeah, it's the
Clearly
new
that was
bell.
a mistake.
Well, yeah, for sure. There's always next time. But I'm sure
There
there'll be
is always next time. Or I could try to do it on the fly that's just how it works sometimes. But Claire, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I was worried that this was a while. We did actually go a while. I was worried Derek would come back in the time we were filming this again. But a nice cool 2 hours. It was a delight.
Back.
It's always fun
Yeah.
to talk Survivor.
He'd come back and be like,
Bing, bing.
Yeah, that's his timer going off.
this was longer than the episode. What's
Yeah,
wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're out there for 3 days. It's fine.
What did you think of the premiere? Did you like it? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked it. I felt like it was pretty well-rounded. I'm looking at the cast. I think there's only like four or five people we really don't know anything about. But I'm really excited about this cast. I'm excited about the characters that are on it. I think there's heroes, there's villains. I feel optimistic. Maybe I'm the production being so excited about this season is rubbing off on me, and I'm very excited about this season, which I was nervous about because I think the last time they were super excited about a season, it was like heroes, hustlers, healers, and so that really backfired on us. But I feel excited about it. I'm excited for these twists. I enjoyed the entire 2 hours.
Yeah.
Technically, it was a 2-hour episode, Taran. So we only just barely went longer than the episode.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. I agree. I think the premiere was fun. I don't think it was my favorite premiere. But there was definitely it took me through a lot of emotions for sure. Very chaotic, very dramatic. I think my biggest critique of the new era of Survivor is that I feel like things often happen without proper explanation. And I don't feel like I know what's happening in the game. And I don't think that this episode made me optimistic about that changing in the future. But we'll see. I know a lot of people point to the dramatic backstories as being an issue. I personally don't mind those. I think for me, it's more just that it's what we don't get, which is again the strategic content of why the relationships exist. We do focus a lot on individuals, which I like, but then we don't transfer that to what are the relationships. Like for instance, what was the relationship between Kane and Maddie? Why did the tribe go with Maddie? Yes, it made for an exciting tribal that we didn't know, oh man, everyone's playing things and votes are going all over the place. But why did that happen? Who was Maddie friends with? Who was what is Laura? If Lauren and Brandon have a connection, what is that? What was her decision to decide to go against him? I want to know these things. I feel like I was missing them. But I feel like this episode, had enough other stuff that it didn't super suffer from that. But I'm definitely concerned for future episodes if this is again continuing that trend.
Yeah, I do think they want to surprise us, and they've always done this with the vote and who will go home. But I would love to have seen some explanation of why did Matthew play the shot in the dark? What was the reasoning? And maybe we'll get that next time. But just seeing, a little bit more about the relationships that are being built. I mean, across all the teams, I'm also not someone who is like excited about medevacs. Like I know it's like drama or whatever, but I'm like, okay, like I don't know. Like it's just not that. It's just sad to me. Like I'm like, this just sucks. Like they can't do anything about that. But it's like seeing the medical team like 6 times. I'm like, okay, well, I think something like is wrong here. Like I don't know what's going on, but like let's maybe intervene something. But yeah, maybe just give them a little bit of water, you know, like just a little bit of food, I think is okay. Like,
Yeah.
People passing out at challenges isn't like fun. Like Brandon just being so exhausted, he has to get an IV drip. Like, I don't know if this is how the game should be playing.
Can we also talk about the fact that he was like passing out and they specifically said because he's out in the sun, and
One tribe was in the shade.
Yeah, one tribe was fully doing their puzzle in the shade while they were doing theirs in the sun. That was absurd to me.
Yeah, that I'm like, did you practice the challenge this morning and didn't think about the shade in the afternoon? Like, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like that just is a poor planning on production's part, honestly. But it's like you don't want people passing out. Like I don't know. And then like, okay, you're pausing the challenge, but it's not like you're really shuffling people away. It's a slide puzzle, you know? So you can kind of like look and see what's going on. Like at all of them, even the first one, when Bruce took his head and they had a pause, I'm like, the puzzle's right there. Like, I don't think if I'm sitting out, like I feel bad for Bruce, of course, but if I'm going back in, that puzzle is solved. Like I'm looking at it 100% of the time. I think it's like, it's unfortunate. I don't know what the solution is. I think the solution is like, give them a little bit of food. If it's shaded, have it all be shaded. Like let them actually compete. Like seeing people suffer isn't fun to me.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, Claire, thank you so much for joining me here for the premiere episode of the Stockwatch here for Survivor.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
You know, who knows? Not much. I just got back from a trip to Banff. Not much is going on. I'm going to Taylor Swift in 2 weeks in Phoenix, so I'm very excited about that. And then you know, I'm just on social media, so that's really it.
Where can people find you?
Well, thank you. First name, last name, Claire Rehfuss, and not Claire Rehfuss. The other Claire R. It's confusing. Just to me, I think. I don't think to anyone else. I will say it is very trippy watching the show and hearing people say Claire, because there's never been a Claire on Survivor US, at least. And so my apologies go out to all Claires who have had to watch me on Big Brother in the race and experience that, because I'm like, me? What's going on? It's very interesting. But yeah, that's it. That's all that's going on.
All right. Well, you can of course find
what's
me
going on with you, Taran?
Well, I'm being birthed.
Fine, we're gonna birth you into this game right now.
On Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Come hang out. We'll watch the episodes live together. You can hang out in the chat. It's always a good time. And you know, playing some games, podcasting about The Last of Us. We've got you know, Big Brother Canada is unfortunately at this point coming up. We will have a draft for the cast. I believe that's gonna be on Tuesday. And yeah, just you know, you guys know the deal.
Yeah. Last of Us, so good. Taran, I might be playing a game with you tomorrow, is the word on the street.
Oh, is it?
Maybe.
What's tomorrow? Oh, are you really?
That's the word on the street.
Oh
gotta
boy.
Practice there tonight. Yeah, I'm nervous.
We haven't done our practice games.
I know, Taran. I'm nervous.
All right. You want to jump on early and play some practice games?
Yeah. Can we? Can we please? I would love
Yeah,
that.
let's do it.
Okay.
Sweet. All right. Okay. Well, tune in tomorrow then. We'll be playing some games. Claire will be hanging out. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us here today, and I will see all of you next time.
Thank you.